The snow beneath her knees turned crimson. Lyria's trembling hands pressed against fur gone cold. Small body limp in her arms, blood, so much blood pooled between her fingers. Steam rising into frozen air. She couldn't see anymore. The world had become shapes and shadows. Her vision stolen by the very gift that was supposed to save them all. Footsteps crunched closer. Heavy, deliberate. Kale stood before her. Blade dripping red onto pristine white. His breathing came ragged. Each exhale a cloud of vapor that hung between them like unspoken accusations. On the ground. Shattered the heirloom necklace. Pieces of silver caught moonlight. Fragments of a promise that should have bound them. The forest held its breath. Somewhere distant, wolves howled. Lyria's lips moved, shaping a question that wouldn't come. And Kael, the Alpha King, the monster. Her father whispered 4 words that changed everything. This is how it ends. But first, you need to know how they got here, because nothing was what it seemed. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments along with the city you're watching. From now, let's continue with the story. 3 days earlier, Lyria ran through woods that wanted her dead. Branches clawed at her face, drawing blood that froze before it could fall. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Each inhale stabbing her lungs with winter's blade. Behind her, howls echoed not random, but coordinated, hunting howls. They'd been her pack once. The wolves who'd raised her after her mother died, or so she'd been told. The lie had lasted 23 years. She stumbled over exposed roots, caught herself against a pine trunk. Her palm came away sticky with sap and her own blood. The scar on her neck throbbed, a reminder of the first alpha who'd tried to claim her. He'd died screaming 3 hours later, his body rejecting the bond like poison. Death bride. They'd called her after that. Cursed. Untouchable. The howls grew closer. Lyria pushed forward, her thin cloak no match for the storm building overhead. Snow fell harder now, erasing her tracks but also blinding her path. When the cabin appeared through the white curtain, she almost wept. It stood alone in a clearing. Windows dark and broken. Door hanging crooked on rusted hinges, abandoned. Perfect. She forced her way inside, shoving the door closed behind her. The interior smelled of rot and old smoke, but it was shelter. 4 walls. A roof mostly intact. A stone hearth that might still work. Lyria's hands shook as she gathered broken furniture for kindling. Not from cold, from memory. Something about this place felt familiar. Though she'd never been to this part of the forest before. The way moonlight fell through the cracked window, the shape of the fireplace, even the stains on the wooden floor. She lit the fire with flint from her pocket, watching flames catch and spread. Heat pushed back the numbness in her fingers. On the mantel, she found a small wooden box, half hidden behind debris. Her heart lurched. The carvings on its surface matched the pendant her mother had left her, the one she'd buried when the pack turned against her. Lyria pulled the box down, tried the lid, locked, outside. The wind screamed, or maybe it was wolves. She couldn't tell anymore. She tucked the box into her pack and returned to the fire, pulling her knees to her chest. The scar on her neck burned hotter than the flames. They said Alpha King Kael was searching for an Omega with blood moon marking, said he'd killed 47 alphas who stood in his way, said he was more monster than man now after losing his mate 20 years ago, said he'd claim the blood moon Omega and rule forever. Lyria touched her scar and prayed he'd never find her. The forest answered with a howl that shook snow from the roof. Dawn broke gray and unwelcome. Lyria woke to silence, the kind that pressed against eardrums, demanding attention. No bird song, no wind, just emptiness that felt like waiting. Her fire had died to embers. She fed it scraps of wood and ventured outside, knife in hand, searching for anything edible. The forest offered little in winter-frozen berries. Bark she could boil. Maybe rabbit tracks to follow. She found something else instead. The sound came first, a whimper, high and desperate, barely audible over the crunch of her boots in snow. Lyria followed it to a twisted thicket 50 yards from the cabin, where metal teeth had closed around something small and bleeding. A wolf pup, no smaller. Younger than any pup should be out alone. The cub's leg bent wrong in the trap's grip, blood darkening its silver-white fur. Amber eyes rolled toward her, wide with pain and fading fast. It should have snapped at her, should have howled for its pack. Instead, it went still, as if surrendering to death. "No," Lyria whispered. She knelt in the snow, examining the trap. Old iron, cruel design. Her fingers worked the mechanism while the cub whined softly. "Hold on, just hold on." The trap released with a clank that echoed too loud. Lyria scooped the cub up, cradling it against her chest. Its heartbeat fluttered rapid and weak under her palm. She ran. Inside the cabin, she laid the cub on her cloak near the fire. The leg was shattered, bone visible through torn flesh. Infection would set in within hours without treatment. Her mother's voice echoed from childhood memory. "Kindness is the only currency that never loses value. Sweet girl, remember that when the world asks you to be cruel." Lyria tore strips from her only spare shirt, fashioned a splint from kindling, and cleaned the wound with melted snow. The cub watched her with those unusual amber eyes, too bright, too aware for an animal. When she began wrapping the leg, it didn't struggle. She sang while she worked, an old lullaby her mother had taught her, words in a language she didn't understand, but melody she'd never forgotten. The notes felt sacred somehow, like prayer. The cub's breathing steadied. Lyria finished the bandaging and sat back, exhausted. The cub lifted its head, gaze locking with hers. Something passed between them, a spark of recognition, of connection deeper than species. Then the world tilted. Images flooded Lyria's mind, not memories, visions. A man's face, severe and beautiful, twisted in anguish. This cabin, but warm with life. A woman holding an infant. Fire and blood and screaming. The same man running through snow, searching, calling a name that dissolved before Lyria could grasp it. She gasped, pulling back. The connection broke. The cub slumped down, exhausted, but kept watching her with those too intelligent eyes. "What are you?" Lyria breathed. Outside, a branch snapped, then another. Footsteps too heavy for deer, too deliberate for coincidence. She checked the window. Fresh tracks circled the cabin, large wolf prints, far larger than the cub's. Someone had been watching, following. The cub made a sound, not quite a whine, not quite words, but Lyria understood anyway. "Father is coming. Run." Night fell like an executioner's blade. Lyria pressed against the cabin wall, the cub hidden in an old trunk, her knife clutched in white-knuckled fingers. She'd barricaded the door with everything she could move: the table, chairs, broken shelves. It wouldn't stop what was coming. Nothing could. The howl started miles away and rolled closer like thunder. Every wolf in the forest answered, their voices weaving into a symphony of submission. This wasn't a call. It was an announcement. The Alpha King had arrived. The howling stopped. Silence crashed down, heavier than sound. Lyria's heart hammered so hard she thought her ribs might crack. Minutes stretched into eternities. Snow began falling again. Soft flakes visible through the window, then footsteps, not running, walking. Each crunch of snow deliberate, unhurried, the steps of someone who knew their prey, had nowhere left to run. They stopped at the door. Lyria held her breath. Sweat slicked her palms despite the cold. The barricade seemed suddenly pathetic kindling before a forest fire. The door didn't explode inward. It simply opened. Wood and furniture slid aside like they weighed nothing, pushed by an invisible force that made Lyria's skin prickle with recognition. Magic. Old magic. The kind that predated kingdoms and laws. A shadow filled the doorway. Then he stepped into the firelight. Kale was taller than any man had right to be, broad-shouldered and moving with a predator's fluid grace. Dark hair fell past his collar, framing a face that might have been handsome if it weren't so cold. but his eyes amber like the cub's, but fiercer, ancient. Those were what stole her breath. They swept the room without looking at her, searching, cataloging, hunting. He moved past her as if she were furniture, his attention fixed on the trunk. Lyria's mouth opened to protest, to lie, but no sound came. His presence pressed against her like a physical weight, making her omega instincts scream to submit, to kneel, to bare her throat. She locked her knees and stayed standing. Kale opened the trunk. The cub looked up at him with those two bright eyes. For one moment, the Alpha King's mask cracked. Relief, raw and desperate, flashed across his features before the ice returned. He lifted the cub with a gentleness that contradicted everything Lyria had heard about him. His large hands cradled the small body, fingers checking the splinted leg with practiced care. A low rumble emanated from his chest, not quite a growl, something softer, comforting. Then he turned those amber eyes on Lyria. The air left her lungs. He stared at her like she was a puzzle that didn't fit, his nostrils flaring slightly, scenting her. His eyes widened fractionally, pupils dilating before contracting to slits. The amber bled to crimson. Lyria's back hit the wall. She hadn't meant to move, but her body had decided for her. Kale took one step forward, then stopped, his jaw clenched, tendons standing out in his neck, fighting something, himself. "You saved her." His voice was gravel and smoke, barely human, not a question. Lyria managed a jerky nod. "Why?" The word came out harsh, suspicious, as if kindness were a foreign concept requiring translation. "She was dying." Lyria's voice shook but held. "I wouldn't let that happen." Something flickered in those red-gold eyes. Confusion. Pain it vanished too quickly to name. Kale's gaze dropped to her throat, fixating on her scar. His expression darkened. "You're marked." Accusation colored every syllable. "It didn't take—" The words came out defensive. "He died. They always do." Kale's lips curved into something too bitter to be a smile. He looked down at the cub, his daughter. Lyria realized with shock, and his features softened again. "Stay here. Don't leave. I'll return." He moved toward the door, then paused, his head tilted, nostrils flaring again. When he looked back, his eyes had returned to amber, but something haunted lurked in their depths. "What's your name?" "Lyria." The name seemed to hit him like a physical blow. He went rigid. The cub clutched tighter against his chest. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Impossible," he whispered. Then he was gone, moving with inhuman speed into the darkness, leaving Lyria alone with a dying fire and 1,000 questions screaming in her skull. Outside, a wolf howled. This time, it sounded like grief. Dawn came with gifts Lyria didn't ask for. She woke to find a deer carcass hanging outside the door, already gutted and cleaned, firewood stacked in a neat pile, herbs bundled with twine feverfew, yarrow, comfrey, medicine for the cub, no sign of the Alpha King, just his offerings, left like prayers at an altar. Lyria processed the deer with shaking hands, her mind replaying the way Kale had whispered her name, like it hurt, like it meant something she couldn't understand. She hung strips of meat to smoke, rendered fat for candles, scraped the hide for future use. Work kept her hands busy and her thoughts from spiraling. Through the window, she caught glimpses of him, a shadow between trees, the flash of dark hair. He never came close, but she felt his presence like heat from a distant fire, watching, protecting, waiting. 3 days passed in this strange dance. Each morning brought new gifts: a rabbit, more herbs, stones for the fire pit that held heat longer. He repaired the roof while she slept, fixed the door hinges, patched the walls against winter wind, all without entering, all without speaking. On the 4th morning, Lyria left venison stew outside the door. When she checked an hour later, the bowl sat empty and clean, placed carefully on the step like a returned treasure. That night, she woke to singing. The voice came from outside, low and rough like it had forgotten how to carry melody, but the song she knew that song. The lullaby her mother had taught her, the one she'd sung while bandaging the cub's leg. Hearing it in Kael's broken baritone made something crack open in her chest. She moved to the window. He sat against a tree 20 yards distant. The cub Rowan. She'd learned through their strange telepathic connection sleeping in his lap. His head tipped back against bark, eyes closed, singing to the stars. The lyrics were in that old language, the one Lyria had never understood, but listening to Kael, watching his lips form words that seemed to cost him something precious. She began to grasp their meaning. Come home, little star, your mother waits in the darkness. Come home. Little heart, your father holds the light. Come home, come home. The night is long, but dawn remembers your name. Tears burned Lyria's eyes. Her mother had sung this to her, this exact song, in this exact tongue. How Kael's voice cracked on the final note. He opened his eyes and looked straight at her window. Caught. They stared at each other across snow and shadow, neither moving, neither looking away. Then he stood, cradling Rowan, and walked toward the cabin. Lyria's pulse jumped. She stepped back from the window, uncertain, afraid, inexplicably hopeful. The door opened slowly, giving her time to refuse him. She didn't. Kael entered like a man walking into a church, reverent and wary. He settled by the fire, arranging Rowan on a folded blanket. The cub's leg was healing faster than possible wolf metabolism, Lyria supposed, though the improvement still seemed miraculous. You know that song? Kael said. Statement, not question. My mother taught me. Lyria sat across from him, fire between them like a negotiating table. I never knew what it meant. It's a birthing song, sung to welcome children into the world. His eyes found hers, intense and searching. My mate sang it once, only once. The air grew heavy. Lyria's throat tightened. Your mate, Elara. I did these times. The name fell like a stone into still water. She died 20 years ago, or so I believed. His jaw worked, muscles jumping beneath skin. She was pregnant when they killed her, or tried to. The council wanted to eliminate my bloodline, ensure no heir could challenge their power. What happened? I was fighting 30 alphas in the Northern Territories. My second-in-command, Marcus, told me the eastern border was secure. He lied. Kael's hands curled into fists. By the time I arrived, I found blood, so much blood, her scent everywhere, but no body. I searched for months, years. Found nothing. His eyes lifted to Lyria's, and she saw at the abyss of loss that had swallowed him whole. Then 7 years ago, rumors began. A child with blood moon marking, born from forbidden union, the death bride. His voice dropped to barely audible. I've been searching for you ever since. Lyria's world tilted. Why? Because my mate wore a necklace. He reached into his shirt, pulled out a chain. A pendant swung from it, intricately carved silver, depicting a wolf and moon entwined. This design has been in my family for generations. Only direct bloodline can wear it without the silver burning their skin. He gestured to Lyria's throat, where her own pendant had hung before she buried it. You're wearing its twin in your dreams, aren't you? The weight of it, even though it's gone. You feel it there. She did. Saints help her. She did. That song, Kael continued. Elara sang it the night before she disappeared. She told me. His voice broke. He swallowed hard, started again. She told me if anything happened to her, if she had to hide our child, she would leave her somewhere safe, somewhere that meant something, somewhere I would know. Tuss! He looked around the cabin, eyes touching everything with recognition and pain. This was her father's hunting cabin, where we met, where I first told her I loved her. His gaze returned to Lyria, burning with desperate hope and terrified certainty, where she would have brought our daughter to be born, if she had to do it alone. Lyria couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The wooden box she'd left it on the mantel. Kael followed her gaze, saw it. stood slowly. He picked it up with trembling hands. "I carved this for her, our wedding gift." His thumb traced the design, the same pattern as the pendants. "The lock opens to bloodline only." He pressed his palm against it. The box clicked open. Inside a letter, yellowed with age. A lock of infant hair, dark as midnight, and a small silver pendant, twin to the one around Kyle's neck. Rowan stirred, sat up, looked between them. Through their link, Lyria felt the cub's certainty, her complete lack of doubt. Father, sister, family. Kale's knees buckled. He caught himself against the mantel, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. When he finally looked at Lyria again, tears carved clean tracks through 20 years of blood and stone. "I found you." The words came out broken, awed, destroyed. "After all this time, I found you." And Lyria, staring at this man who was supposed to be her nightmare, saw only a father who had spent 2 decades searching for his lost child. She had no words, so she stood and walked to him, this stranger who was her blood, and let him collapse against her shoulder while the Alpha King finally broke. They sat together until dawn painted the windows gold, Kyle telling stories of Alara, while Lyria tried to reconcile her mother's memory with this phantom woman she'd never known. The letter confirmed everything written in Alara's hand: instructions for keeping Lyria safe, apologies for the life stolen before it could begin. "She thought I betrayed her, Kale said. Voice scraped raw. "The last thing she believed about me was a lie." Lyria touched his hand, tentative, testing. He went still, as if afraid sudden movement might shatter this fragile thing growing between them, trust, or the beginning of it. "We have time now," she offered, "to make different truths." His fingers curled around hers, careful of his strength. 17 hours until the blood moon rises, then the council will come." The moment broke. Reality crashed back cold and sharp-toothed. "They know I'm here." Lyria pulled away, heart hammering. "They've known since I howled at your door." Kale stood, began pacing. "The council has been waiting for this, for me to find you, claim you, bind our bloodlines together so completely that killing one kills both. They'll attack when you're most vulnerable, during the claiming ceremony under the blood moon. Then don't claim me." Simple, obvious. "I'll run again." "You can't." His eyes met hers, fierce and sorrowful. "The blood moon marking activates during the lunar rise. You'll shift involuntarily, lose control. Without an alpha's anchor, you'll kill everything within miles, including yourself." Rowan whimpered, pressing against Lyria's leg. Through their bond came images other Omegas, lost to blood madness, torn apart by their own power. "So my choices are claim or slaughter." Bitterness coated Lyria's tongue. "Convenient. There's a third option." Marcus stepped through the door. Kael moved like lightning, placing himself between Marcus and Lyria. "How did you find, please, my king?" Marcus smiled, cold and calculated. "I've known about this cabin for 20 years. Who do you think told the council where Alara was that night?" The world stopped. Kael's entire body went rigid, murder radiating from him in waves. "What did you say?" "I served them long before I served you." Marcus pulled back his sleeve, revealing a brand the council's mark. "Every move you've made, every alpha you've killed, searching for your precious Omega. I reported it all. We needed you desperate enough to actually find her, needed you to care enough that her death would destroy you completely." "Why?" The word came out as a growl, barely human. "Because you're too strong. Kael, too beloved. The council can't rule while the Alpha King lives." Marcus drew a blade silver, etched with poison runes. "They wanted to break you first, make you watch another mate die. Leave you hollow enough to slaughter easily." Wolves poured through the broken windows, through the door, 20 and 30 and more. Council soldiers, all bearing that cursed brand. They circled the cabin, teeth bared, murder in their eyes. Marcus pointed his blade at Lyria. "She dies tonight. Either you watch, or you die trying to stop it. The council doesn't care which." Kale's shift was instant, brutal, bones cracked and reformed, his human skin splitting to reveal midnight fur and rage incarnate. He was massive in wolf form, twice the size of any normal alpha. Ancient power rolled off him in waves that made the attacking wolves hesitate, but not retreat. They came at him in coordinated waves. Kale tore through them like they were made of paper, but there were too many. For every throat he ripped out, 2 more lunged at Lyria. She grabbed her knife, slashing at eyes and muzzles, but her Omega body wasn't built for combat. A wolf got through, jaws snapped inches from her throat. Rowan threw herself between them. Tiny body intercepting teeth meant for Lyria. The cub screamed high, agonized. Wrong. Blood sprayed across snow-white fur. No. Lyria caught Rowan as she fell. Leg wound reopened, new gashes across her chest. Too much blood, too fast. Kale's roar shook the cabin walls. He abandoned defense for pure slaughter, killing with savage efficiency. But Marcus had already grabbed Rowan, blade pressed against the cub's throat. "Stop, or she dies." Marcus's voice cut through chaos. "You know I'll do it, old friend." Kale froze, half shifted, blood dripping from his claws. 7 wolves lay dead around him. The rest circled, waiting. "Here's how this ends," Marcus continued. "You renounce your crown, kneel before the council, and maybe we let the cub live long enough to watch her sister burn." Lyria's vision tunneled, Rowan's blood soaked through her shirt. Hot and too much. The cub's consciousness flickered through their bond, fading, dimming, slipping toward darkness. She had one choice, one chance. Her blood could heal, but using it cost vision, cost strength, cost pieces of herself she'd never recover. Her mother's warning echoed through memory. The gift consumes the giver. Sweet girl. Use it only when life means more than living. Lyria bit down on her wrist. Tearing skin. Blood welled. Dark and shimmering with power that should not exist. She pressed the wound to Rowan's mouth, forcing the cub to swallow. Power surged through their bond, raw, wild, burning. Rowan's wounds began to close. Her heartbeat strengthened. Color returned to her fur, and Lyria's world went gray at the edges. Shapes lost definition. Marcus's face blurred. Features running together like wet paint. 20% of her vision gone. But Rowan lived. Kale's eyes met hers across the blood-soaked room, understanding and horror warring in their depths. He knew what she'd sacrificed, knew there would be more sacrifices before this night ended. Marcus laughed, low and cruel. "How touching. Now both of you get to watch her die slowly." He gestured to his wolves. "Burn it down, all of it." They came with torches, with oil, with gleeful malice. Fire caught on dry wood, spread faster than snow could fall. Smoke filled the cabin, thick and choking. Kale grabbed Lyria and Rowan, burst through a window in a shower of glass and flame. They ran into the forest, wolves howling behind them, the cabin blazing like a pyre for all the futures that would never be. Behind them, Marcus stood silhouetted against the inferno, crowned in flame and triumph. "Run, little king," he called. "The blood moon rises in 12 hours, and we'll be waiting." They ran until Lyria's lungs burned and her legs gave out, collapsing in a cave half buried by snow. Kale shifted back to human form, his body covered in wounds that would have killed a lesser wolf. He didn't seem to notice. Rowan lay between them, breathing steadily now, her small chest rising and falling in peaceful sleep, healed, alive. The cost, written in Lyria's graying vision. "You shouldn't have done that." Kale's voice was rough, but not with anger, with something worse, grief for a sacrifice he couldn't repay. "She's your daughter." Lyria leaned against cold stone, exhausted beyond measure. "What else would I do? My daughter." He said it like tasting wine, savoring and uncertain. "I've protected her for 7 years, and in one day you've saved her twice. What does that make me, human?" The word hung between them. Even kings are allowed to be human. Footsteps crunched outside. Not wolves, something heavier, more deliberate. Kale moved to the cave entrance, body tense as a drawn bow. Lyria forced herself up. Knife in hand, despite her shaking grip, a woman emerged from the snowfall. She was beautiful in the way winter is beautiful cold, sharp, merciless. Dark hair threaded with silver. Eyes that matched Kael's amber exactly. She wore council robes, black as night, embroidered with symbols that made Lyria's blood moon marking burn. Kael made a sound, half gasp, half death rattle. No. The woman stopped 5 paces away, studying him with an expression Lyria couldn't read. Hello, Kael. You're dead. His voice broke on the word. I buried your memory. I mourned. I know. 2 words, flat as stones. I watched. Lyria's mind caught up with her eyes, the face, familiar in ways that had nothing to do with seeing it before. The way she stood, the tilt of her head, the shape of her hands. She looked down at Rowan, then at this woman, then back. The same, exactly the same. Mother, the word escaped before Lyria could stop it. Alara's gaze shifted to her, and Lyria saw ice where warmth should live. I was... once. Kael moved between them, protective instinct overriding shock. What happened to you? You did. Alara's voice never rose, never fell, perfectly controlled, perfectly dead. That night, when they came for me, I called for you, screamed until my throat bled, and you know what I heard back. She paused, letting silence answer. You're second in command, telling them to handle it, that you had a kingdom to protect, that one woman wasn't worth losing the war. Her eyes, so like his, bore into Kael with surgical precision. I heard you say it, Kael. Let them handle it. Those were your words. No. Kael shook his head violently. No, I was fighting at the northern border. Marcus told me you were safe. Marcus told you what I paid him to tell you. Alara's lips curved into something that murdered the word smile. After I heard your betrayal, after I barely escaped with our child growing inside me, I found Marcus, made him a deal. He would feed you lies, lead you on endless searches, make you suffer as I suffered. She took a step closer. Kael flinched. I watched you. Kael, for 20 years. I watched you tear yourself apart looking for a daughter I made sure you'd never find. I watched you become the monster they called you, the king of blood, killing without mercy or thought. I watched you lose everything that made you the man I loved. Lyria's world fractured. You knew where I was the whole time. Alara finally looked at her, really looked, and Lyria saw no recognition, no love, nothing. I left you with farmers who couldn't have children, simple people, kind people, who would raise you far from this world of teeth and lies, but you came looking anyway, didn't you, following some instinct back to your bloodline, back to him. Disgust dripped from the last word. I came because they tried to kill me, Lyria's voice cracked. The pack found out what I was. They hunted me like an animal, as they should have. Alara's coldness could have frozen the sun. You were never supposed to exist. The blood moon marking, the mixed heritage, you're an abomination against nature itself. I spent 20 years building the council into what it needed to be. 20 years preparing to end the bloodline that brought me nothing but pain. Kael's voice came out strangled. You lead the council. I am the council. Power radiated from Alara like heat from a forge. Every alpha that swore loyalty, every wolf that follows their commands, they follow me. I rebuilt what you tried to rule through sentiment and weakness. I created order from your chaos by poisoning children. Lyria gestured at Rowan. By murdering innocents, by doing what's necessary. Alara's eyes flashed. Rowan was never Kael's daughter anyway. She's the orphaned whelp of his traitor brother, a bastard he passed off as heir to avoid the council forcing him into another political marriage. I had Marcus poison her to draw you out, to finally end this. The revelation hit like a physical blow. Kael staggered, caught himself against the cave wall. How do you... I know everything. Alara's smile returned, sharper, including that Kael deliberately poisoned Rowan himself, months ago, hoping the search for a blood moon Omega to cure her would lead him to his lost daughter. That's a lie. Kael's roar echoed through the cave. I would never, wouldn't you? Alara pulled a vial from her robe's dark liquid, viscous as oil. Your scent is all over this. Marcus acquired it from your private chambers. You've been dosing her slowly, carefully, keeping her sick enough to justify your obsessive search, but alive enough to maintain the illusion of paternal concern. She threw the vial at his feet. It shattered, releasing a smell that made Lyria's stomach turn. You used your own adopted child as bait. Alara's voice finally held emotion triumph. You're worse than I ever was. Kael looked at Lyria, desperate, pleading. I didn't. I swear on everything. Your oaths mean nothing. Alara cut him off. They never did. That's what tonight taught me 20 years ago. That's what I'll teach our daughter now. She held out her hand to Lyria. Come with me. Leave him. I've built us a sanctuary, a place where Omegas aren't claimed like property, where we make the rules. You'll be safe, protected, free. Lyria stared at that outstretched hand, her mother's hand, offering salvation wrapped in ice, or stay with the monster who manipulated everyone around him to get what he wanted, who let me die, who poisoned an innocent child, who will do anything to keep his crown. Alara's voice softened, almost gentle. Choose Lyria, but choose now. The blood moon rises in 6 hours, and after that, there won't be enough left of you to save. Rowan stirred, waking. Her eyes opened clear, bright, focused. She looked between the 3 adults, reading tensions and truths through bonds Lyria was only beginning to understand. Then she spoke, voice small but certain. Father never poisoned me. Grandmother did. Alara's mask cracked, just for a moment, surprise breaking through. What did you call me? Grandmother. Rowan stood on unsteady legs, positioning herself in front of Kael. I've walked your dreams, seen your memories. You're Alara. Father's mate, Lyria's mother, my grandmother. She lifted her small head, defiant despite her size. And you've been lying to yourself for so long, you forgot what truth feels like. Alara's hand dropped. Her face went blank, emptied of all expression. When she spoke again, her voice could have carved ice. You have until the blood moon. After that, I'll kill him myself. And Lyria. She met her daughter's eyes one last time. You'll watch. Because this is how love ends. In blood and betrayal and the ashes of everything you thought was real. She turned and walked into the snow, disappearing like she'd never been there at all, leaving behind 3 broken people and a truth that satisfied no one. Kael sank to his knees, face buried in his hands. I didn't poison her, I swear, Lyria, whatever else I've done, whatever sins I carry, not that. Never that. Lyria looked at him, this king, this father, this stranger who shared her blood, looked at Rowan, small and certain, looked at her own shaking hands, vision graying further at the edges. 6 hours until the blood moon, 6 hours to decide who was lying, 6 hours until everything burned. Rowan stood between them, small body trembling with effort. Her eyes had changed, no longer amber, but silver white, glowing with power that shouldn't exist in one so young. I need to show you. Her voice echoed strangely, layered with something ancient. Both of you. The truth you can't see because you're standing too close to it. Before either could respond, the world shifted. Lyria found herself standing in memory, not her own. The cave dissolved into a grand hall. Stone walls hung with tapestries, a fireplace roaring with heat. A younger Kael stood by the window, face unlined by grief, eyes bright with hope instead of blood. Alara entered, visibly pregnant, laughing at something over her shoulder. She moved to Kael, who wrapped arms around her swollen belly with such tenderness that Lyria's throat closed. If it's a girl, Alara said, I want to name her Lyria, after the winter star. And if it's a boy? Cale pressed his face into her hair. Still Lyria. I've already decided. Her smile could have lit the darkness. Our child will be born under the blood moon. The old texts say such children bridge worlds, heal what's broken. She'll need a strong name. The scene shifted, twisted. Night now. Chaos. Alara running through corridors, blood streaming from a wound in her side, screaming Cale's name, over and over. Voice raw with terror. In another room, Cale, surrounded by maps and generals, planning. Marcus burst in. Face urgent. My king, the eastern border. Handle it. Cale didn't look up. I need to finish these deployments. We lose the north. We lose everything. But sire, I said handle it. Cale's fist slammed the table. I trust you, old friend. Do what needs to be done. The memory fractured. Alara, hiding in the stables, overhearing guards talking, said to let them handle it. The king has more important things than one woman, even his own mate, especially her. Liability. They're calling it, the council wants her gone, and he's not fighting it. Alara's face crumbled. She pressed a hand to her belly, tears streaming. Then steel entered her expression. Survival mode. She ran. The scene shifted again. Marcus, alone in his chambers, opening a message written in Alara's desperate hand. I'll pay anything. Make him suffer. Make him search forever. Make him feel what he made me feel. Marcus smiled and burned the letter. Another shift. Alara years later, standing before the council in their black robes, her belly flat now, child long gone, her eyes dead. I'll lead you, she told them, but you do exactly as I say. We don't just remove Cale, we destroy him. Piece by piece, year by year, until there's nothing left but the monster he chose to become. The memories came faster now. Marcus poisoning Rowan in secret, on Alara's orders, Cale finding the child sick, desperate, spending every resource searching for a cure, never suspecting, never knowing, Marcus planting evidence the vial in Cale's chambers, the forged letters, the witnesses who would swear they saw the king dosing his adopted daughter, Alara watching from shadows, year after year, as Cale transformed from the man she loved into the king of blood, watching him kill, watching him rage, watching him break, collecting his suffering like payment on a debt. Then the truth Lyria needed most, Alara, holding an infant, standing in the cabin where Lyria would one day hide, placing the baby with a farming couple, pressing gold into their hands. Keep her away from wolves, away from him. If he ever finds her, Alara's voice cracked, if he ever finds her, it means I failed. It means my revenge wasn't enough. She kissed the infant's forehead once, tears falling onto soft skin. I'm sorry, little star, but love is a luxury neither of us can afford. The memory shattered, Lyria gasped, back in the cave, Rowan collapsing into her arms. The cub's eyes faded from silver to amber, power spent. She heard wrong, Rowan whispered. That night, grandmother heard wrong, and hate grew in the space where truth should have been. Cale sat frozen, processing everything. She thought I abandoned her, and you thought she was dead. Lyria's voice came out hollow. 20 years of torture because of a misunderstanding and a traitor's manipulation. Marcus played you both. Rowan's small voice carried weight beyond her years. Fed grandmother's rage, enabled father's destruction. The council didn't want to eliminate the bloodline. They wanted you to eliminate each other. Silence fell, heavy as graves. Lyria's mind reeled. Her mother, the woman she'd dreamed about, cried for, missed with every fiber of her being, had orchestrated decades of suffering, had poisoned a child, had built an empire on revenge for a betrayal that never happened. And Cale, the monster she'd feared, the king covered in blood, had been innocent, searching not for power, not for an omega to claim, but for the daughter stolen from him before he could even hold her. She's still coming. Kale's voice came out dead. He checked the sky through the cave entrance. 4 hours. She'll come to kill me, and she'll make you watch, because she thinks that's what justice looks like. She's wrong. Lyria surprised herself with the certainty in her voice. Revenge isn't justice. It's just pain looking for company. She moved to kneel beside Kyle, making him look at her. You didn't betray her. You didn't poison Rowan. You didn't do any of the things she spent 20 years hating you for. Does it matter? His eyes held ancient sorrow. I still became the monster. Still killed 47 wolves. Still earned every ounce of that hate, even if the reason was wrong. You killed slavers and murderers. Rowan placed a small paw on his knee. Marcus made sure you only hunted the ones the council wanted removed. He controlled your rage, aimed it like a weapon. You were a tool. Father, not a monster. The dead don't care about the distinction. No. Lyria took his face in her hands, forcing him to hold her gaze. But the living do. And I'm choosing to believe you. Not because I have proof. Not because a magical child showed me the past, but because in 3 days, you've been nothing but honest, even when honesty made you look worse. Something flickered in Kale's expression. Hope, fragile as spring ice. You saved Rowan, Lyria continued, raised her as your own when you could have abandoned her, searched for me for 20 years when it would have been easier to forget, knelt before me and cried when you could have commanded. That's not what monsters do. Your mother made choices based on lies. Lyria's voice hardened. And she's still making them, but I don't have to. I can choose differently. She stood, pulling Kale up with her. 4 hours until the blood moon, until I lose control and become the thing everyone fears. So here's what we're going to do. Both Kale and Rowan stared at her. We're going to save her. Lyria's jaw set. My mother, your mate. We're going to show her the truth, break Marcus's hold on the council, and end this cycle of revenge that's poisoning everything. She won't listen. Kyle shook his head. 20 years of hate doesn't evaporate because we ask nicely. Then we make her listen. Lyria touched her throat, where the scar pulsed with power. I'm a blood moon omega. The texts say we bridge worlds, heal what's broken. Maybe that includes broken people. Rowan's eyes widened. The claiming ceremony. If Father claims you under the blood moon, your bond will be strong enough to share memories. You could show Grandmother what I showed you. It's suicide. Kale grabbed Lyria's shoulders. The council will attack during the ceremony. You'll be vulnerable. I'll be vulnerable. We'll both die. Maybe. Lyria met his eyes without flinching. Or maybe we stop running and face this head on. Stop letting Marcus and the council and hate control our lives. She took his hand, placed it over her heart. You've been searching for me for 20 years. You found me. Don't lose me now because you're afraid of the fight. Kale stared at their joined hands, his much larger, scarred from decades of battle, hers smaller, marked by blood and sacrifice. If we do this, he said slowly, there's no going back. The claiming bond is forever. You'll be tied to me, to this life, to everything that comes with it. I've been tied to it since birth. Lyria smiled, sad but certain. The only question is whether I face it alone or with family. The word hung between them. Family, not pack, not bloodline, family. Rowan pressed against both their legs, small but solid. I know where the ceremony needs to happen, where Grandmother will come, where everything started. The cabin, Kale realized. The cabin, Rowan confirmed, where Mother gave birth to Lyria, where Father last saw Mother alive, where all the broken pieces can finally come together. Lyria looked at what remained of her vision, the world dimming at the edges, colors fading to gray. She'd give more before this ended, maybe everything, but some things were worth the cost. Then let's go home, she said, and finish this. The cabin ruins still smoldered when they arrived, smoke rising like prayers into the twilight. The blood moon hung low on the horizon, not yet full but swelling, pulling at Lyria's blood with hooks she could feel in her bones. Kael surveyed the wreckage with a soldier's eye. They'll come from the north. The wind is right. They'll use it to mask their scent until they're on top of us. Let them come. Lyria's voice was steady despite the trembling in her hands. The moon's call grew stronger with each passing moment, singing in a language older than words. We're not hiding anymore. Rowan limped through the ash, nose to the ground, searching. She stopped at the cabin's center, where the hearth had stood. Here, this is the heart, where Lyria was born, where the veil is thinnest. The claiming must happen here. Ayami, Ami. They cleared the debris, revealing scorched stone still holding residual heat. Kael drew symbols around the space with charcoal ancient marks that would amplify the bond, make their connection strong enough to pierce through decades of hate. These will also make us sitting targets. He didn't look at Lyria as he worked. No shields, no protection. Everything we are will be exposed. Good. Lyria knelt in the circle's center. Let them see, all of it. The blood moon rose higher, painting the world in shades of crimson. Lyria felt her body beginning to respond, bones shifting, instincts sharpening, humanity sliding away like water through cupped hands. She gasped, fighting the change. Not yet, Kael murmured, kneeling across from her. Hold on a little longer. Howls erupted from the forest, dozens of them, converging. The council had arrived. They materialized from shadows, 50 wolves, maybe more, forming a perfect circle around the ruins. Marcus led them, human-formed, sword drawn and gleaming with the same poison that had nearly killed Rowan. How theatrical! Marcus's voice dripped mockery. The king and his lost princess, reunited at last. Tragic it ends tonight. It doesn't have to. Kael remained kneeling, vulnerable, refusing to rise to the bait. Marcus, you've manipulated both sides of this war. Don't you ever tire of being someone else's weapon? I'm no one's weapon. Marcus smiled. I'm the architect. I built this beautiful tragedy piece by piece, convinced Alara that betrayal tasted like truth, convinced you that redemption looked like slaughter. I played you both like instruments, and gods. What music we made. The council wolves snarled their agreement, hungry for blood. Where is she? Lyria called out. Where's my mother? Watching. Marcus gestured to the tree line. She wanted to see your face when you realized your father is exactly the monster she believed him to be, when he claims you not out of love, but desperation, when he binds you to him forever because it's the only way to keep his bloodline alive. That's not, Kael started, isn't it? Marcus circled closer. Be honest, Great King, if Lyria wasn't your daughter, if she was just another Omega, would you be kneeling in these ruins, or would you have claimed her that first night and called it destiny? Kael's jaw tightened. I don't know. The honesty of it cut deeper than any lie. Father, Rowan began. It's true. Kael looked at Lyria, eyes raw with truth. I don't know who I would have been if things were different. I've spent 20 years as the King of Blood. That doesn't wash off because I found you. The monster is still here, under my skin, waiting. Lyria felt the blood moon's pull intensify. Her vision blurred, 40% gone now. Soon she wouldn't be able to see at all. Then we'll fight him together, the monster, the past, all of it. How touching. Alara stepped from the shadows. She'd changed since the cave. The cold mask had cracked, revealing something worse underneath not hate, but hollowness. A woman carved out from the inside, running on rage's fumes because she'd forgotten how to run on anything else. I raised you to be stronger than this. Alara's voice shook slightly. To not repeat my mistakes, and here you are, kneeling before him, ready to let him mark you, own you, control you. That's not what claiming is. Lyria stood, swaying as the moon's power crashed through her. Not when it's done right. Not when it's chosen. There is no right way. Alara's composure shattered. Every bond is a chain. Every mark is a brand. I was claimed once. Remember, I trusted once, and it destroyed me. No. Kale stood too, moving toward her with impossible gentleness. Marcus destroyed you. The lie destroyed you. I was just the target. Alara's hand went to a dagger at her belt. Don't. I never betrayed you. Kale's voice broke. That night, I was 3 territories away, slaughtering the alphas who'd been raiding villages. Marcus told me you were safe. I trusted him. I should have checked, should have known. That's my sin. Alara, not malice, stupidity. It doesn't matter. Tears streaked her face, the first emotion she'd shown. The result is the same. You weren't there. I was alone, bleeding, giving birth in this cursed cabin with no one. Do you know what that's like, bringing life into the world while dying yourself? She turned to Lyria, eyes wild. I held you for 10 minutes, 10 minutes before I had to give you away, because staying meant they'd find us both. I've had 20 years of 10 minutes. That's all I got. The blood moon reached its zenith. Lyria screamed as her body began the change bones cracking, fur sprouting, humanity peeling away. But something was wrong. The transformation hurt more than it should, burning like poison in her veins. The marking, Rowan's voice cut through Lyria's agony. The failed claiming from before, it's corrupting the shift. She's caught between forms. It's killing her. Lyria collapsed, body twisting in ways bodies shouldn't move. Blood poured from her nose, her ears. The world had gone almost entirely gray now, just shapes and movement. Kale lunged toward her. Marcus intercepted, blade flashing. They collided in a violence that shook the earth. 2 alphas, evenly matched, murder in their eyes. Let them both die, Marcus grinned. Trading blows. Saves us the trouble. The council wolves moved in, ready to finish what the blood moon started, but Rowan stood between them and Lyria. Small body planted firm. Her eyes blazed silver again, power radiating in waves that forced the larger wolves back. Grandmother, she called. You want to know what happened that night, the truth Marcus has been hiding. She released the memories, not gently this time, but like a flood, forcing them into every mind present. The council wolves saw Marcus's betrayal, saw him manipulating Alara's pain, saw 20 years of lies built on a foundation of misheard words, saw that Kyle had been innocent. The wolves faltered, confused, turning to Alara for guidance. Alara stood frozen, watching the memories play out, watching the truth she'd spent 2 decades refusing. Her dagger fell from nerveless fingers. No, the word came out strangled. No, it can't. Marcus told me. Marcus lied. Rowan's voice carried over everything. He's been lying to everyone, using your pain as a weapon, using Father's guilt as a leash. Marcus disengaged from Kale, breathing hard. Does it matter? Look what you've all become. The lies made you stronger, harder, better. Truth is overrated. He raised his sword toward Lyria's convulsing form. But she's the real problem. The blood moon marking, the bridge between worlds. She's too dangerous to live. He struck. Alara moved faster. She threw herself between the blade and her daughter, Marcus's sword punching through her chest instead. Blood bloomed across council robes, darker than the moon. Time stopped. Marcus stared at his sword, buried in Alara's body. Why? Because she's mine. Alara's voice came out bubbling, wet. Whatever else is true, whatever lies, we've all believed she's mine, and I won't lose her twice. She fell. Kale caught her, lowering her gently to the ash-covered ground. Their eyes met, alpha and mate, husband and wife. 2 people who'd lost 20 years to another man's ambition. I'm sorry. Alara touched his face with a shaking hand. I'm so sorry. I should have known. Hush. Kale pressed his forehead to hers. We have time. I'll get healers. No. She smiled, sad and knowing. Some wounds don't heal, but you can save her. Claim her. Kale, anchor her. Give her the family I couldn't. She turned her head toward Lyria, who had gone still, trapped between forms, barely breathing. Be stronger than I was, little star. Choose love over hate. Choose trust over fear. Her hand fell. Her eyes closed. The woman who'd led the council through revenge and rage finally found peace in sacrifice. The council wolves howled not in celebration, but mourning. Marcus tried to run. Rowan's power caught him mid-stride, silver light wrapping around his legs like chains. He fell hard, sword skittering away. "You all saw," Rowan announced, voice amplified by ancient magic. "The truth, the lies, the manipulation. Who here still serves Marcus?" Silence answered, "Then help us save her." Rowan gestured to Lyria. "Or everything grandmother's sacrifice, father's search. All of it was for nothing." The wolves shifted to human form. Circling the ruins, they joined hands, adding their strength to the ceremony space, amplifying the bond. Kale lifted Lyria's broken body into his arms, carrying her to the circle's center. He laid her down gently, then bit deep into his own wrist. Blood welled, dark and powerful. "I claim you not as property," his voice rang clear, "not as prize or possession. I claim you as daughter, as family, as the missing piece of my soul. I anchor you to this world, to this pack, to me. By blood and bone and the moon's witness, I claim you. Lyria, my daughter, my heart." He pressed his bleeding wrist to her lips. His blood met hers, mixing, bonding. Power exploded outward. The blood moon's light focused like a lens, pouring down through the ceremony circle. Lyria's body convulsed once more. Then the transformation completed not into wolf, but into something between, a form that existed in both worlds simultaneously, bridging the gap Marcus said couldn't be crossed. Her eyes opened, completely white now, her vision taken as the final price. But she saw anyway, not with eyes, but with something deeper. She saw Kael's soul, saw Rowan's certainty, saw the council wolves' wonder, saw her mother's spirit, still lingering, smiling with pride before finally fading into light. "Father!" The word came out with absolute certainty, not question, not hope, fact. Kael's tears fell onto her face. "Daughter." The bond snapped into place, unbreakable as the world itself. Lyria stood, blind but steady, and faced the assembled wolves. "The council is broken. Marcus's influence is finished, but we can build something new, not founded on revenge, but on choice. Who stands with us? As one." The wolves knelt, not in submission, in respect. Marcus laughed from his magical bindings, high and cracking. "You think this changes anything? The council will splinter. The kingdoms will war. Everything I built will end with you." Kael's voice held no anger, only finality. "The council votes your fate. I abstain. This is their choice, not mine." The vote was unanimous. Marcus would face the old justice exile beyond the northern wastes, left to survive or die by his own cunning. They dragged him away, still laughing, still convinced he'd won something, but in the ruins of a cabin where life had begun and ended and begun again. 3 people stood in the blood moon's light, father, daughter, and sister, and knew that some victories look nothing like triumph. They look like forgiveness, like choosing to heal instead of hurt, like family found in the ashes of everything that tried to destroy it. Rowan pressed against them both, completing the circle. "Home," she said simply, and for the first time in 20 years, in ways that mattered more than walls and roofs, they were. Sometimes the hardest prison to escape isn't made of walls. It's built from the stories we tell ourselves about who hurt us and why. For 20 years, Alara carried a truth that wasn't true, let it turn her heart to winter, watched the man she loved become the monster she imagined he already was, and in the end, what did all that suffering buy her? 10 minutes. That's all she ever really had with her daughter. 10 minutes before fear made her choose safety over love, revenge over reconciliation. But here's what breaks me open every time I think about this story. It's never too late to choose differently. Even in her final breath, Alara chose love, chose to be the shield instead of the sword, chose to give her daughter the chance she never gave herself. How many of us are carrying grudges that have grown heavier than the original hurt? How many years have we lost to being right instead of being reconciled? Family isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. Even when presence costs us everything we thought we needed to protect. What relationship in your life needs the courage of a second chance? Is there someone you've been waiting to forgive or someone whose forgiveness you've been too proud to seek? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it, because sometimes admitting the weight we're carrying is the first step toward putting it down.